It's a pretty weak hurricane, if you ask me. Anyway, working on the truck, trying to get something done after a couple of unproductive weekends. So we're gonna be trying to wrap up the fuel tank. This is not the tank that was in the truck. I drilled a hole for the sump, not knowing that there was a anti-sloshing tray, whatever you want to call it, in here. Unfortunately, the hole intercepted that tray, and it required me to go out and get a fuel tank. So I picked this one up used locally. Drilled the hole in a better spot this time, so we'll flip that over in a little bit and take a look. So a couple things that are different. The new system, fuel system, is going to require 2 returns, one from the engine and one from the lift pump. So the sump that I'm using is this River City diesel sump, and it's going to have an outlet and a return in the sump, so that takes care of one. And then I could return through the factory lines, decided not to. The lift pump install kit that came with the Fuel Lab had this draw straw, so I put that in, and that's going to be our
secondary. It's a pretty weak hurricane.
Secondary return. The power just went out. Look at that. Power's back. So anyway, the sump is going to be one return. The draw straw is going to be the second return. I pinched off these lines coming out of the sending unit, so we're not going to be using them. So it's going to be pretty bare bones. I had to go out and get a couple different fittings because the return side is going to be 3/8 hose, and all the barbs that were included with the various kits were for 1/2 inch. So I'm going to go ahead, get this draw straw return plumb finalized, and then flip the tank on its side, and we'll take a look at this RCD return sump kit. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get the sump install started. So this is an RCD River City diesel sump kit. It seems to be pretty similar, at least in function, to the new Beans redesigned sump, Bean Machine, I believe it's called. So basically 2 ports on the sump itself. One is feed, one is return. The return side has this nice pipe that's going to go up into the tank to keep the return fuel and the feed fuel separate. So basically we're going to slide this locking ring up into here. This lower piece seals on an O-ring, and then there's one central Allen head bolt that holds it all together. There's a plug for the bottom that can be used for you can use it for like a fuel temperature sensor. You can use it to drain the tank, all different number of applications. So it comes with this sealing washer as well. 1/2 inch push lock for the output, and a 3/8 push lock for the return. And then they also include the Teflon tape. So unlike the Beans kit, a hole saw is not provided with this kit. This is a 3-inch hole taken out probably a 1/16 all the way around. So it's probably about a 3 1/8 hole. 3-inch hole saw is what I had on hand, and it fits pretty good. So the plan is we're gonna try and, I don't know if we're gonna be able to install it horizontally like this. We might have to hang the tank and do it from underneath, which is kind of how it's designed to work. But then in any event, we're gonna have to hang the tank anyway in order to orient the output of the sump. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do now is get these barbs installed and then see if we can get this done horizontally at all. Otherwise, we might have to get under the truck and do it there. So it's actually pretty easy to mount it horizontally. 2 things I did was I put some grease on the O-ring to keep it from wanting to fall out of the lower sump housing. And then I put a zip tie around the locking ring so that I could kind of have like an external handle to hold it, because my fingers are too big to have in there. Once I got this bolt started, I was able to cut the zip tie and pull it out because the return tube locates this to the lock ring. So this is just in loose right now. So the next step is going to be to hang the tank and then orient this and tighten it for good. Got the sump in and oriented and tightened down. A couple residual drops of diesel. I think just from kind of moving the tank around when we were tightening that up, but it seems to not be leaking there. And then we got the first of what is going to be a couple of these kind of junction block hose organizer type things. So this one is just welded onto the front tank strap. This is the strainer, pre-filter, whatever you want to call it. Comes included with the Fuel Lab install kit. So we've got the 1/2 inch supply into the pump and the 3/8 return. So the lift pump is going to return to the sump, and then the engine is going to return to the tank via the draw straw. So this is about as far as this is going to go, because before we can plumb the feed line, we got to figure out where everything's going to go on the inner fender, and that is going to take us up to the inner fender right now. So it's a couple weeks after the last clip that you just saw, and I've been making some pretty steady progress up here. So just to cap off the fuel system, there's a bunch of wires in the way right now, but we do have the supply run up to the filter head, and the return just kind of goes here and then disappears down. And everything for the most part with the fuel system is complete. I think I got to go under there and take a little slack out of one of the return lines, but for the most part that's done. So now we can update you guys on where we're at with the wiring. So basically what we did is we're going to have the factory fuse block in the factory location, the FICM in the middle, and then we're going to find a home for the fuse block for the standalone harness, which is pretty small, so we should be able to kind of tuck that in, maybe like right here or something. In hindsight, I kind of wish I put the fuel filter here. However, putting it where I did keeps it out of the way. It doesn't really interfere with anything. Whereas if I had put it here, it would have blocked access to the intercooler boot, and it would have made taking the belt on and off a little bit more difficult, getting to the power steering hoses, that kind of stuff. So I don't hate this thing here, but it does kind of handicap me a little bit. So with both batteries being over here and the need for battery power over here, what I did was I bought this kit for do-it-yourself battery cables and ran a 4-gauge wire up over the fan shroud. And that comes in here to this distribution block. So, you know, basically what this gives me is 4 3/8 studs, as well as a couple smaller ones, little screws to move battery power around with. And I guess this basically does the same thing as the jump start junction block that all Duramaxes have, but this just gives me the ability to spread the power out a little bit more cleanly, I think, than that other one would have. So I've got battery power coming in here, and then so far the only wire I've run is this guy, which is for the fuse block, but like the subwoofer is going to go to this, the fuel pump is going to go to this, so that should be a pretty nice way to get good battery power over here since there's no battery anymore. I do have a corresponding one for ground that I have not mounted yet, just because I haven't really thought of a good place to put it, and I don't want to, you know, spend the time to make a bracket and stuff if I'm just going to move it later. Let's see what else. I got the glow plug control module mounted. That was kind of a pain in the ass just because of how tight it is against the Hydro Boost line there. I did have to extend the power supply wire from coming from the battery by probably about 8 inches or so to get it to reach the way I wanted it to. Couple harnesses are kind of taking shape, which is nice. We have this one here that kind of snakes behind the AC compressor. That's a lot of the sensor wires. And then this one in the back here, this is the PCV reroute hose, and then one of these goes to the PCM. One of them is for the glow plug controller, and then I forget what the third one is. As you can see too, I installed a turbo blanket heat shield. You can see that there's really not a huge gap between the wires and the turbo, so that's just something I'm gonna have to keep an eye on. There is heat reflective wrap that I can get for that harness if need be. It would just be kind of a pain in the ass for a couple different reasons, but we will kind of keep an eye on that as we proceed. I got the upper fan shroud on. I did have to trim quite a bit. You can see the sides here have been trimmed, and also this has been kind of like de-lipped, so there's no more like inner radius to that thing. I don't have a lower shroud yet. I got to figure out what the plan is with the heavy duty fan clutch that's on here, and also the fact that this thing probably isn't going to see hard work right out of the gate. I'm not too worried about it running hot. Really not worried about that at all, to be honest. So just some finishing touches probably for the winter that we'll look at. And then also today I went out and picked up this Lb7 Oil Fill Pipe. So that'll put the oil fill cap about here, just to get me a little bit of hood clearance. I am cautiously optimistic that this is actually all gonna fit under the hood. I'm not certain about it. I think the only thing really that could interfere at this point are the charge pipes, or the intake and the charge pipe, I guess. Nothing over here I'm worried about. And once I install the shorter oil fill neck, I won't be too worried about that either. So we're getting there. It's coming along really good, actually. We had Kyle over here last week, and we got some wiring stuff done. Hopefully the next time this thing's on camera, it'll be starting and stopping with a key, and the gauge cluster will be working. So once that's done, then I just gotta bleed the clutch, install the front drive shaft, and we can flip this thing around and back it in, and then we can make some traction bars for it with some nice big ass Heim joints, swap in the new rear axle, and then it'll be time to try and drive the thing. So we're getting pretty close. Sorry for the lack of videos lately. I just been coming out here and working, and it's hard to start and stop and stuff. So this is where we're at. So hopefully I'll have something coming for you guys this week. And until then, thanks as always for watching.